everyone, you're welcome back to Yink Sweet Ladies Place once again. My name is Yinka. In today's tutorial, I'm going to be showing us how to make this beautiful off-shoulder shift dress. So let's get into it. So first I'm going to be folding my fabric into two. Then after that I'll fold it into four because we're going to be cutting the front and the back together. Then when it's unfold, I'm going to check if I have up to cut off my hip measurements plus extra 3 inches because that's what I need unfold. Then if your bust is the biggest circumference, you need to check if you have up to cut off your bust measurements plus extra 3 inches. Then the next thing I'm going to do is to measure down my elastic casing. Starting from the beginning of the fabric, I'll measure 1.5 inches downward. That's going to be for my elastic casing. Then after that, I'm going to roll it. Okay, so because it's an off shoulder, I'm going to be placing my tape measure this way. So I'm going to be minusing 4 inches. But if you want it to open the more, you can minus 5 or 6, depends on what you want. So I'm going to place that 4 inches on the line that I rolled. Then from there, I'll measure down the length of my armhole, which is 9. Then my waist length, I'm using 16 for my waist length. Then from there, I'll measure down my hip length. My hip length is 24. Then my actual length, the length of my gown, is 42. So I'll measure the 42 plus 1 inch seam allowance. So after that, I'll extend the lines. This style is so easy to make. Even a beginner can finish this in less than 30 minutes. Yes, it's that easy. So easy. Alright, the distance from here to here is 1.5, and that's the elastic casing. Then I minus 4 inches because it's an off shoulder. I place the 4 inches on that line. Then from there, my armhole length, my waist length, the hip line, and then the length. Alright, so starting from this first line, I'm going to input my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 16. If I divide it by 2, that will give me 8 inches. I'll measure 8 inches. Then I'm going to roll it to my armhole line. My armhole line is my chest line, so I'll roll it to my chest line. Then after that, I'll place my cuff roller and get my armhole cuff like this. Then on my chest line, I'm going to input quarter of my bust measurement plus 2 inches ease because it's a shift dress, needs to be free. So 2 inches ease and then 1 inch seam allowance. Then on my waistline, I'm going to input quarter of my waist measurement plus 2.5 ease because you want it to be very free on the waist, then with 1 inch seam allowance. Then if you don't want it to be too free, you can just be using 1 inch ease. Then on my hip line, I'm going to input quarter of my hip measurement plus 2 inches ease and then 1 inch seam allowance. Then after that, I'll connect the points together. So I'll connect from my waist to the chest line. Then I'll use the cuffed part to connect from my waistline to the hip line. Then from my hip line, I'm going to roll it straight to the hem of the dress. Just roll it straight to the hem of the dress like that. So now I'll fold my elastic casing downward this way. Then I'm going to cut it out. First, you can just roll it upward this way so that the chalk can be visible there as well. So from there now, I'll cut the fabric out. Alright, so after cutting it out, it looks like this. Then from my waistline, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. Then I'm going to notch. That is where my pocket is going to start from. That is the position of my pocket. Then I'm going to keep this aside, and then we're going to be cutting out the sleeve. Alright, for the sleeve, I'll fold the fabric into two, then I'll fold into four, because we're cutting the two sleeves together. So the fabric is folded into four. So the next I'm going to do on fold, I'm going to check if I have up to my armhole measurement. My armhole is 9, then with additional 3 inches. That is what I need on fold. My armhole length with additional 3 inches. Then I'm going to just rule it. That's the amount of fabric required on fold. My armhole plus extra 3 inches. Then starting from the beginning, I'm going to measure. I told you if I'm making off shoulder, I usually measure 4.5 at this upper part. But because this style is having like a gathered on the sleeve, so I'm going to add additional 3 inches. I'm going to add additional 3 inches. So I'm making it 7.5. So the next I'm going to do now is to place the bodice, that is the body of the dress. I'm going to place it on that 7.5 inches mark, then making it to touch the line that I ruled. Then I'm going to draw the shape of the armhole, because we are fixing it together. They need to align together, they need to match perfectly well, because they are going to be joined together. Then after that, you determine the length of your sleeve. So if you draw out the armhole of the body, it already contained the 1.5 elastic casing. So you can just measure the 1.5 downward and roll it, so that you can know where your actual measurement is going to start from. So the length I want for the sleeve is 12 inches. Then I added extra 1.5 for elastic casing, because it's having elastic at the hem of the sleeve as well. So after that, I'm going to cut it out. So the total length I use here now is 15 inches. 1.5 for the elastic casing at the upper part, 12 inches for the actual measurements, and then 1.5 for the elastic casing at the hem. Alright, so after opening it, this is the dress. After opening the dress, this is how it looks, and then this is the sleeve. And that's the other sleeve. So if you open it up and then you open the sleeve as well, you're going to be joining it together this way. You can see what I'm trying to tell you. They need to align here. That's the sleeve with the bodice. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out my pocket. For my pocket, I'm going to place my fabric into 4 folds. Then I'll just trace out the shape of my palm. Making sure at the mouth like this, I have 7 inches. Then after that, I'll just cut it out. My pocket is into 4 pieces. So that's my pocket. Then I've cut out a strip for fabric that measure 4.5 inches. Then the length is my waist measurement multiplied by 2.5. So the length here is about 72. All right, so I'm going to be showing us how to join it together now. So the first thing I'm going to be doing now is to attach the pocket. You know, I already know where the pocket is going to start from on the body of the dress. It's starting 1 inch below the waistline, so I'm going to join it from there. I'm going to join the pocket from that point that I notched. Alright, so I'm done attaching the pockets to the dress. The next thing I'm going to do now is to hem the lower part of the gown. I'm going to be folding the lower part of the gown. You know, I added just 1 inch seam allowance to the hem, so I'm going to fold it like I'm showing you, very tiny like this. First you fold like 1/4 inch inward, then you fold over, and then you stitch. You hem the lower part of the second side as well. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do, this is the sleeve now. Next thing I'll be doing now is to hem the lower part of the sleeve as well. But this time around, it's going to be a little bigger than the hem of the dress, because here we are going to put in elastic casing. So first you fold 1/4 inch inward, and then you fold over again, and then you stitch, such that it will be able to contain your elastic. It shouldn't be too tiny, so that your elastic can fit in. Then you hem the two of them. Alright, so the next thing now is to join the sleeve to the bodice. So you match the right side of the bodice together with the right side of the sleeve, and then you are going to stitch them together on the armhole with 1/2 inch seam allowance. When you're done with one side, you put the sleeve again, right side fitting each other to the other side as well, and then you stitch again. So I'm done attaching the two sleeves to one side of the dress. You can see the way it's looking. The two sleeves has been attached to one side of the dress. So the next thing, you take the other side of the dress, you match it together at the other sleeve, right side to right side, right side to right side, and you're going to stitch together again with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then at the other side, you join it as well. So I'm done attaching the sleeve to the bodice. You can see this is how it's looking. So the next thing you want to do now is to stitch the elastic casing for the upper part of the dress. So just open it up like this, the way I'm showing you now. Then you fold it, first fold half inward, then you fold over, so that you can create elastic casing at this upper part. Then after that, you stitch it down. So as you're sewing it, make sure all the seam allowance are facing the same direction. This way putting elastic will not be a problem, because if it faces different direction when you are putting your safety pin inside, it may be difficult to pass the elastic through. So make sure all the seam allowance are facing the same direction. So before you get to the point where you started, you're going to stop 1 inch away from there. So you just leave a little opening like that where you're going to use to pass your elastic through. So I'm done creating the elastic casing at the upper part. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to close the side of the dress. So starting from the sleeve, I'm going to close the side, but then I'm not going to start immediately at the beginning of the sleeve. I'm going to leave that space where I folded. You can see that is the elastic casing for the sleeve. You are going to start below it. Then I'll be closing the side with 1 inch seam allowance. When I get to the pocket side, I'm going to sew with ½ inch, then I'll continue sewing with 1 inch on the body. Then I'll repeat the same thing to the other side. Then after that, I'm just going to wrap my elastic around my body like I'm showing you here, so that I can cut out the amount that I need. Then for the sleeve, you just wrap it around your arm so that you can know the amounts that you need. Or if you measure the shoulder round, you just minus 6 inches from the measurement and cut it out for the elastic casing. Then the same thing is applicable to the hand. If you measure the sleeve round of the client, just minus 6 inches from it and then use the rest to cut out the elastic. Alright, so I've cut out my elastic for the sleeves and also for the round shoulder. So the next is just to use my safety pin to pass the elastic through to the dress. So when I'm done with the elastic, I'm going to join it together and then I'm going to close the little opening. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the sleeve. I'll fix it, I'll insert the elastic, then I'll close the opening. So I'm done passing the elastic through the casings that I have. You can see. And that's it, our dress is ready. You can see the pockets. So the next thing now is to sew the belt. First fold the belt into two and then you're going to close it. So when you are done, you're going to use something to push it to the right side. You can use your scissors or anything you have to push it to the right side. Alright, so I'm done pushing it to the right side. The next thing is to close the mouth. Just push the raw edges inside, then you stitch on the mouth of the belt. And that's it, we are done. And here is the result of our project. I so much love this gown because it's so comfy. I just love it. And if you don't want it to be an off shoulder, you can just place it on your shoulder like this. You can see. Cover properly as well, and it's so beautiful. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Bye.